Okay, this is Gargamon, the Dungeon Master of Solenod Hex, and I'm here today with Spanish Banana, aka Vega from Roll20. Can you say hi, Vega?
Hello there.
Hey, hey. So you applied to play in the Orb of Solenod Hex. Yesterday? And I was pretty impressed with your application. You mentioned that you had a microphone and you already had a Discord account, and you enjoy role-playing. So I sent a link to my Discord interview channel, and here we are today with our interview. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition?
Specifically, Dungeons and Dragons is the one that I've less used. But I mainly have been playing Warhammer and Call of Cthulhu, which not really similar, but they still are role-play games.
Oh, okay. Have you ever played Dungeons & Dragons in the past?
To be honest, no.
Okay.
I've been playing Warhammer mainly.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so is it true most of your role-playing experience is with Roll20?
No. I've said it in the text, if I'm not wrong. I've mainly played in some video game with any game mode, in which was a serious roleplay, of course, or in how you say it, on live. You know, with hanging out outside and playing on with people.
Oh, okay.
Really, on Roll20, I haven't been using it. I wanted to use it though, but my friends always wanted to play hanging out. They didn't want to use a program. They didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay, so most of your experience is face-to-face games with Warhammer and Call of Cthulhu. So that's pretty cool. What types of characters did you play in those games?
I'm really bored of the hero and villain view of characters. So I also end up with the anti-hero or anti-villain, or I end up with something that doesn't fit in any of these four.
Yeah. The cool thing about Dungeons & Dragons is the alignment system. There are 9 alignments, and some of those alignments certainly allow for an anti-hero. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons terms, an anti-hero would be a neutral character, neither good nor evil. And there are 3 neutral alignments. Now, I'm talking about neutral with regard to morality. So good and evil. This character is neutral between good and evil morals. Now, there's still 3 alignments that fit within that category. You have lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, and true neutral. So these characters differ in their ethical code of conduct or whatever. So a lawful neutral character is a highly ethical character, but maybe on the moral scale is somewhat ambiguous, morally. So maybe it's a person who will follow orders to the best of his or her ability without regard for the moral implications of their orders, like an assassin or a soldier or a police officer. something like that type of personality.
I was imagining something like that. A soldier, which is also a psychopath, but he follows all rules, so he
Right.
doesn't really have any type.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's also true neutral, which is a person who doesn't believe in morality or ethics at all. True neutral person merely follows the desires of their heart, the hunger of their body, the drive to reproduce, and that's pretty much it. They're like animals, basically. All they want to do is eat and reproduce. That's it. That's all they care about. And so anything that gets in their way when they want to reproduce or, eat is their enemy. Or, anyone that will help them reproduce or eat is their friend. So, yeah. Or be comfortable, basically, like an animal. And then you have chaotic neutral, which is a person who is completely unethical and also has no belief in morals whatsoever. So people like this tend to be very unpredictable, and most people view them as though they were crazy. They have no rhyme or reason for their actions normally. They will do anything to spread chaos and disorder through the multiverse. So you have characters like that, or like the Joker from Batman. In my opinion, he was chaotic neutral. Sometimes he would do good things, sometimes he would do bad things, but whatever it was that he did, it was always chaotic. It was always crazy. And yeah, he in my opinion is a perfect example of a chaotic neutral character. But you seem to have an interest in a character that was more ethically bound, but not so much morally. Is that what I'm getting out of it?
Well, I don't. It's really. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it with the roles you're implying, the chaos neutral or true neutral or lawful neutral. I had quite a problem trying to decide in which of these groups fit with these characters that I've made, to be honest.
Right. I do have a resource that you can use. This resource has most of the rules for AD&D 2nd edition. It's called www.purpleworm.org/rules, and I'll give you a link in the Discord chat right now.
I've already visited this.
And if you click on the index link at the top of the left-hand column, it will separate all of the books into individual headings. And if you use the find function in Windows, Control F, it will open up a search bar, and you can enter alignment into it and hit enter, and you can see alignment, complete priest's handbook, alignment as a worldview, dungeon master's guide, playing the character's alignment, player's handbook, and I think The one you want is Alignment Chapter 4 Player's Handbook. Oh, no, that's not it. Alignment Chapter 4 Player's Handbook. Changing alignment. Oh, okay. Alignment combinations. That's what it is. Alignment combinations, player's handbook. Here's a slightly better description of neutral characters. So you've got lawful neutral. Order and organization are of paramount importance to characters of this alignment. They believe in a strong, well-ordered government, whether that government is a tyranny or benevolent democracy. The benefits of organization and regimentation outweigh any moral questions raised by their actions. An inquisitor determined to ferret out traitors at any cost, or a soldier who never questions his orders, are good examples of lawful neutral behavior. Then you have true neutral. True neutral characters believe in the ultimate balance of forces, and they refuse to see actions as either good or evil. Since the majority of people in the world make judgments, true neutral characters are extremely rare. True neutrals do their best to avoid siding with the forces of either good or evil, law or chaos. It is their duty to see that all of these forces remain in balanced contention. True neutral characters sometimes find themselves forced into rather peculiar alliances. To a great extent, they are compelled to side with the underdog in any given situation, sometimes even changing sides as the previous loser becomes the winner. A true neutral druid might join the local barony to put down a tribe of evil gnolls, only to drop out or switch sides when the gnolls were brought to the brink of destruction. He would seek to prevent either side from becoming too powerful. Clearly, there are very few true neutral characters in the world. And then you have chaotic neutral. Chaotic neutral characters believe that there is no order to anything, including their own actions. With this as a guiding principle, they tend to follow whatever whim strikes them at the moment. Good and evil are irrelevant when making a decision. Chaotic neutral characters are extremely difficult to deal with. Such characters have been known to cheerfully and for no apparent purpose gamble away everything they have on the roll of a single die. They are almost totally unreliable. In fact, the only reliable thing about them is that they cannot be relied upon. This alignment is perhaps the most difficult to play. Lunatics and madmen tend toward chaotic neutral behavior.
Okay.
Does that sound like it fits your criteria? Any of those?
I think so. I think my character will be more something like a chaotic neutral, but I still have some doubt. I mean, I've already read that thing. I've already did seek information for myself yesterday, but I still have a bit of confusion. Maybe he's not really on that group, but yeah, I think it fits better than the others. That's for sure.
You could also look at true neutral as the safe barrier between chaotic neutral and lawful neutral. If the character that you have in mind doesn't really fit chaotic neutral or lawful neutral, then there's always true neutral.
And the problem is those, so it will be more chaotic than anything else.
Okay, but before we get into that, I just have a few questions to ask. They're just standard questions that I usually ask everybody. Um, a couple of these questions I won't have to ask you because you obviously have a decent microphone set up and everything. So I'm opening up my question sheet right now, and it's still loading for some reason.
Fastest PC alive at AC.
That's weird. I think I'm gonna have to reload my page here.
Fastest PC alive.
Yeah, I just updated Windows, and it was the Windows update from October, like the really big one. So things are going a little wonky right now.
Unexpected. A Windows update fucking your computer? That's weird.
Yeah, really, yeah. Okay, so now it's loading. And I don't have any antiviruses running right now, so it should go pretty quickly. It usually takes about 60 seconds to load my campaign. And hopefully that handout will load. So normally at this time, we would be playing D&D, but I had to cancel the session today because there were 2 or 3 people that called out for, you know, work and family engagements and stuff like that. And then also my computer was updating all night, and by the time our start time rolled around, it still was updating. This update took forever. Like, I started last night at about 6:30, and my computer fell asleep eventually while it was updating, so it stopped updating, and I had to, you know, get up early this morning at about 6 o'clock and come out here and make sure it was still going, and of course it wasn't, so I had to, you know, log in again and get my computer to wake up and start the update up again, and I didn't have to start over, but yeah, it was one hell of an update. It took forever because my computer kept going to sleep. Okay. So this is a really large campaign. It's going to take about 1.5 gigs of RAM to run it. So most people have that.
Can I use this time to do something else? I have to do some quick things, like.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready if... Oh, no, I'm not. It's still loading. What the hell? Let's see. What happens if I click on edit?
Gonna do something real quick. I'm coming back in like 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I wonder why it keeps doing this. Are you back yet? Wow, it's only that one handout that I want to use. That's fucking up.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Need some water.
Yeah. So my interview handout is not loading up, so I'm just gonna go from memory. All right. So pretty standard questions that I ask everybody. Most of it has to do with headset and microphone, because for some reason there's a lot of people that can't afford those, and they end up not being able to speak during the session. So sounds like you have a pretty good microphone and headset. I don't hear any background noise or anything like that. So
Yeah, I'm using a program to edit the background noise, and
Okay.
I'm using some headphones, so the noise doesn't come out when I'm talking.
yeah, it sounds like you've got that pretty much handled. So some other questions about your system. Do you use ground line internet, like internet that goes through cables in the ground, or is it through like cell phone towers or satellite internet? Like, what do you know? What kind of internet infrastructure you use? The only reason I ask.
I asked a good question because I don't really know. I think it's cable.
Okay, yeah, probably cable if you don't know, because if it was satellite, you would know. You'd have to have a satellite dish, you know, like DirecTV or whatever. And if it was cell phone towers, you would have an antenna on your modem. There would be an antenna, so you would know. Okay, and then your computer, is it connected to your modem by Ethernet cable, or do you use
Yeah,
wireless? Okay, so it's a wired connection. That's good. All right.
Actually, neither. Actually, it's neither. I use I use a thing. I don't know the exact name. It's a TP-Link. Basically,
HDMI?
Connect by. No,
But it's a wire,
I
right?
use is a TP. Yeah, it's a wire.
Okay.
Basically cable.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, that's all I really needed to know. And then a couple other questions about how long do you intend to play in this campaign in Solid Hex? Is it like for a couple of months, or like a couple of weeks, or like for a couple of years?
Rough question. To be honest, I wouldn't know. If I like the campaign, I will most likely be at least for all Christmas. But if not, if I don't like it, maybe like 2 or 3 days of campaign. So yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the minimum is Christmas.
Minimum is Christmas. Okay. So that's like a week away. A week and a couple of days. So
What?
it's only
No.
Christmas is only 10 days away. That's
I mean, and Christmas included. So for January, like half of January.
Oh, okay. Okay. Have you ever played in a long-term campaign before?
I've stayed as a dungeon master for a long campaign, but I really didn't. I really haven't been on a long campaign as a player.
Okay. Have you played in a tabletop role-playing game where you gain levels?
Yeah.
Is that how it works in Call of Cthulhu or in Warhammer?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not playing Warhammer 40k. I usually play Warhammer Fantasy, which
Yeah.
is really similar to Dungeons and Dragons, from what I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Call of Cthulhu is quite different in the idea. Of course, H.P. Lovecraft things are really much far away from the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, really. But yeah, they usually go with levels.
Yeah. So in that game, how far did you progress?
Right now, I will say level 5 on Call of Cthulhu, which is pretty hard because you usually find your character dying one
Oh.
way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is really easy for you to die. I mean, to be Call of Cthulhu, you're just a normal human, and you're fighting like hordes of monsters, or like you're a normal civilian against a werewolf. You're
Right.
pretty much gonna die.
Right. Okay. What about the other game?
The other game, pretty fine, really. I've been on level 7, the longest, but
Okay.
that's because the campaigns were a bit too short. I would say they weren't really long, so the progress of my character was by campaign after campaign after campaign. Like I couldn't level up as much as I wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how did that make you feel?
Indifferent. I mean, if you say it because of character development or something like that, I actually prefer to have level 1 characters because you can always be as open as you want with.
Right. Right. Have you ever wanted to progress from like level 1 to like level, say, maybe 20 or higher?
I mean, knowing the systems I've been using, if you reach level 20, you have already like mastered all, at least the skills that you want, so you never fail. Even the most difficult of throws.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really feel like going beyond 20. I've seen games, but they were so boring no one could fail, and there was no thrill.
Okay. Are you aware that the level system in 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons progresses to level 30?
No, I wasn't. That's actually that's actually something.
Yeah, so 2nd edition AD&D originally was intended for levels 1 through 20, and there was an expansion that came out in the late 90s, and it's on that purpleworm.org resource that I gave you. It's the book on the very bottom. It's called DM Option High Level Campaigns, and this book has rules for advancement beyond level 20 for all classes. and so that increased the level cap to level 30. And what it does is it allows characters to eventually become so important to the world that their agenda becomes world changing, and they change the world along with their character growth. So, for example, a fighter might become the king of a country, and then eventually a high king or an emperor of some sort, and be the head of an empire. And that's where he would find he or she would find their retirement or whatever, if they chose to retire. A priest might become a cardinal or a pope type character and be the highest echelon in their religion in the world, and be the penultimate spiritual leader of their religion. A thief might become eventually the leader of a gang of thieves, and then the leader of some sort of like rebellion movement or something, and form maybe their own political faction, even like communists or unionists or something to that effect. Like, they advance through their roguishness so far that their organized crime organization grows to the point where they become an unstoppable, maybe a company or political faction. And then wizards, they become so powerful that they can create their own spells and use true magic, which is actually level 10 magic. Most other games don't have level 10 magic. This one does, in at least D&D games. And wizards become so powerful they can create their own planes of existence and their own life forms and things of that nature. So is that the level of play that you would eventually like to get to, starting from level 1 and advancing that far?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if I have the possibility, maybe, but I don't believe like my characters will want to be on that position.
Okay. What about after several years of playing the same character and developing the same character? Do you think that it would be possible then for them to desire that level of responsibility?
If they don't die before that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so as far as deadliness, AD&D 2nd Edition is compared to the newer versions of Dungeons & Dragons, like 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 2nd Edition is far deadlier. There are many enemies in the later parts of the game that are so powerful that they can kill your character if you fail a saving throw. Are you familiar with what saving throws are?
Yeah.
Okay. So the challenge level in AD&D 2nd Edition stays pretty much the same all the way through the 3 tiers of character development. You have from levels 1 through 10, you're essentially trying to avoid being damaged to the point where you die. And then from level 10 to 20, The challenge stays the same because, granted, you may not take as much damage as you did before. Like you might not take as much damage that's needed to kill you, but there might be lethal attacks that are used against you that can kill you if you fail a saving throw. So eventually the game goes from the danger is losing hit points from damage to the danger is failing a saving throw and dying. And then eventually towards the end of the game, from levels 20 to 30, the challenge is maintaining your character's reputation. Because when you get to that high of a echelon of play, level 20 and higher, your character becomes a very political figure. So it's all about politics at that high of a level. And your character's danger is losing face or losing followers or losing political clout. And that can be done through, blackmail, espionage, stuff like that. So the challenge is kind of different, through the different echelons of play. It goes from damage to just instant death, and then, your character's reputation is the most important thing later on. And that's because at level 30, your character becomes eligible to become a god in the campaign world. And if you're trying to achieve godhood and someone is blackmailing you for something that you did back when you were a teenager, that could be a problem, because you could lose political face, and after your reputation goes south, then maybe the gods don't trust you as much as they used to, or they don't support you as much as they used to, and maybe you could end up losing your the god that's sponsoring you to godhood or whatever, and you could end up losing your spot in the heavens or whatever. So yeah, it becomes highly political after a time. But most people that play role-playing games, they don't really get beyond the point where the main fear is just taking damage. Like, once they get to a certain point, they get bored because they don't realize that there are other challenges to be had. It's once you get to a certain point, it's not just killing monsters anymore. Then it becomes political intrigue is what really the game should be about at a certain point. And are you prepared for like political intrigue type of stuff, or do you just want to do that lower echelon of play where it's just killing monsters?
Now you say it. Now that you mention all this political thing, which I've never seen, to be honest. I find it interesting. I find it something that hasn't been really explored in roleplay games, and
Yeah.
I would have wanted to experience it before. But yeah, basically the way you say it, at the first levels are about not losing health.
Yeah.
Second phase is not dying, literally.
Yes.
Which, to be honest, if seeing it it's trying to imagine the system, that's quite problematic, because if in one level you're just having trouble with not being hurt, then you have a phase which is literally you live or you die, which even increases the idea of live and dying, killing or getting sacrificed.
Right. So the thing about that second echelon of play where you live or you die, normally at that point you have people in the party that are so powerful that they can just bring you back from the dead if you were to die. the designers of the game had to come up with some way to drain those characters' resources, i.e., the ability to just instantly kill your character, so that your friends have to bring you back from the dead, and you start with, fewer resources than before. Just to keep the challenge level up where it ought to be. Because, if there's normally each party will be made up of at least one of each of the 4 different character types, like one rogue, one warrior, one priest, and one wizard. But each of those characters can have their own henchmen. And when you get to the point where your henchmen can bring people back from the dead, like say the wizard gets stung by a giant scorpion and dies from the poison instantly, but his henchman is right there, and his henchman brings him back from the dead by casting resurrection or raise dead or whatever, then the game is less challenging, if it were just about taking damage. But because of those instant death mechanics, now that character has to work harder, right, and use his resources and spells and stuff. Whereas before, you could just block hits altogether. There's a wizard spell called Stone Skin, and it is so powerful, it blocks hits completely. Like the enemy will try to attack you, but automatically fails because you have the Stone Skin spell running. And when you when you get to that point, there has to be some kind of mechanical change where because you're just not taking damage at all, right?
I'm just imagining it. I'm imagining the developer saying like, these characters are so broken, so let's just make things
harder. Yes. Yeah. So that's basically the difference between the tiers of play, right? So in the beginning, you're very weak, and things hit you pretty often, and you take damage a lot, and the risk of dying is very real, okay, in the lower levels. And then you get more and more powerful and more powerful, and eventually you have all these spells and magical items that make it essentially impossible for you to get hit or impossible for you to take damage. So now that system is broken, you have to the game master has to introduce a new system where all these things are designed just to kill instantly, like giant scorpion poison, giant spider poison. Medusa can petrify you, instantly killing your character, by turning you to stone or whatever. And there are a lot of monsters in the later on parts of the game that have mechanics like that, where if you try to attack them with weapons, their skin is covered in acid. It will melt your weapons away, or it can melt your weapons just by striking them. And then when they die, they explode, so you take damage, or you might have to roll a saving throw versus death or die. There has to be some way to get around the fact that your characters are so strong.
Yeah, I remember seeing your last video.
Yeah.
It was with creatures who have acid damage. You cannot heal yourself. I'm like, what the fuck?
Naturally. Yeah, you have to use cure spells to cure acid damage and fire damage, and that's in the player's handbook. That's actually one of the basic rules of special damage in the combat chapter in the player's handbook. Acid damage and fire damage are permanent.
A bit of a weird question. Considering the damage of fire is because of temperature, you can have the same effect but with cold?
Yeah,
Like,
in real life, yes, but in Dungeons and Dragons, they don't go into that depth.
ah,
So it's just acid and fire. That's it. Electrical damage doesn't do that. Ice damage doesn't do that. Force damage doesn't do that. And there's only 8 different types of damage in second edition D&D. You have slashing damage, piercing damage, bludgeoning damage. Well, maybe 9. So you have normal fire damage, and you have magical fire damage, and then you have acid and force and electricity, and what was the other one? Cold damage, ice damage, yeah, cold damage.
freeze
So
damage. I think.
yeah, freeze damage. So there's only basically nine different types of damage, and only 2 of those are permanent. So acid and fire. So the other types of damage, though, are good for other things, like ice damage. The way I run ice damage is if you use an ice attack anywhere near standing water, the standing water will instantly freeze to the point where creatures can walk on it. And it's very slippery, slick. It's hard to see because it's clear usually. And I introduced new mechanics because of that. So, like, if someone tries to walk across it, they have to roll a dexterity check. But if they don't have a dexterity score, then it's a paralyzation save. And if they fail, then they go prone and they slide across the ice for an amount of squares equal to their movement rate. So if your movement rate is 12, then you slide for 12 squares. And
But
that could be dangerous.
You can do something like, I remember a game. How you what? Might and Magic. You can in that game you can freeze the floor, even though the floor is made of rock. You
Yeah.
can still throw a spell of ice and make people get sleep and fall down.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. See, I don't do things like that because that essentially makes some of the spells obsolete. For example, there's a first level spell called it's like oil slick or grease or something like that, and it creates an area of effect on the floor that's slippery and greasy, and everyone within the area of effect has to roll a saving throw or fall down, and they can't really get up until they pass a saving throw. And I think in order to move, they have to pass a second saving throw. And even in that case, they only move at like 1/3 of their normal movement rate or something like that. So they could still be stuck within the area of effect by the time they're done moving. And if they fail a save to keep standing, then they fall down again. So, I mean, I could go as far as, doing stuff like that for slippery stuff, but that's just too much. It would detract from having that actual spell. So I just use like a really simple, slippery ice mechanic where it's just, a dexterity check or a paralyzation saving throw to, keep your feet and keep traction. And then magic spells are more powerful, than the natural effect. So, but I do the same thing with the other damage types, like force damage. If it doesn't have to be targeted to if you don't have to target a living creature with it, like, magic missile is one of those ones where you can only target living creatures and it does force damage. But there's a couple other force damage spells. I allow people to use those spells to do damage to the environment, so they can break doors down and stuff, and push in gates and break through walls and things like that to get into a building or through a dungeon wall or something. And depending on the level of the spell, it might go deeper and deeper into stone. So, yeah, I do little things like that with the other damage types. And then, of course, acid spells, or if you throw acid on somebody, there'll be an acid pool on the floor, obviously. So if someone walks through that, they'll take acid damage. And then things like fireballs, if you use it out in the woods or on the plains, it's gonna catch something on fire. It's like 30,000 degrees of heat or something, so it'll probably catch the grass on fire even if it's wet. It'll catch the grass on fire because all the water will instantly evaporate and the grass will catch on fire. So I'll put down little forest fires here and there that give off light. So if there's darkness, I'll make a little forest fire that gives off light. If it's the middle of the night or something. That's the cool thing about fire is it gives off light. So I even made a template for Fireball that people can move around and put on the floor where they want their fireball to go off, and it gives off light. So for an instant, they are able to see like everything in the room, and then it goes dark again. Or wherever, if they're in the woods at night or out in the desert at night, they can see everything around them for a pretty far distance, because I think a fireball would give off a hell of a lot of light. And same thing with lightning bolt. I do the same thing with lightning bolt. It gives off light in a really large area of effect, for like an instant, and then it goes away. So, but yeah, okay. So just a couple more questions. So you don't really seem interested in developing your character to the point where you're more of a politician, to me. Is that true?
I'm interested in all types of development. I prefer those who are not related to just be a bounty hunter and kill things.
Yeah.
Because it's boring. But if you, if I reach a point where I can be a politician, a point where my character is much more politic than action. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to.
Okay. And then also, just so you know, a position for a warrior has recently opened up in the campaign. Have you ever played a warrior before?
Weird. I haven't.
You haven't? Is that something that you would be interested in playing?
To be honest, I've already created 3 characters. Neither of them are actually warriors.
Huh.
And maybe I can forcibly stick one in.
Yeah.
Because he's actually like something like a rogue ranger thing, so I can change a lot of things and make him a warrior. But I would prefer if they kept the job class that they wanted.
Yeah, yeah. Are you familiar with the different warrior classes in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition?
If I'm not wrong, I went to read the manual, because mainly because I wanted to create a character sheet to have it ready for when they interview.
Yeah.
So we don't have any type of trouble. And I've read it. Yes. It was warrior, paladin, and some other 2. It was the longest list from all 4 types of the job classes, but I don't remember them well.
Okay, so you have you mentioned the fighter and the paladin, and then the third one is also from the player's handbook. It's called the ranger. The ranger is sort of like a nature-oriented fighter, whereas the paladin is like a religiously oriented fighter, and neither the ranger nor the paladin are able to progress in weapon skill as much as a fighter is. So all 3 classes are more or less balanced out, because the fighter can't get spells, right? But he can become, master weapons. The paladin can't master weapons, but he can eventually learn, religious spells. And then, the healing type, or the more religious type of priest spells, that is. And then the ranger, he can't, master weapons, but he is more at home in the wild than the other two classes. He's able to influence reactions with animals. His ability to do that gets stronger as he gains levels. And then eventually he can also learn plant and animal spells that are of the divine nature. So he can summon animals and, befriend animals in the wild, and create good berries to heal himself, and use plant spells to entangle his enemies and things like that.
Yeah, so basically, maybe I haven't got it straight. The ranger is spiritual, the priest is dogmatic.
Possibly. The paladin could be dogmatic as well. Because there are different types of paladins. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term kit. Have you ever read about kits in 2nd edition?
No.
Okay, so there are some paladin kits where the paladin is actually a part of religious organization, like part of a church.
I think I've read it, but I didn't take much attention to it.
Okay. So, for example, like some of the fighter kits are like the Amazon, the samurai. There's a ranger kit called like the Forest Runner. That's where the ranger he like protects the forest, and he's really good at things in the forest, and then every other terrain he's kind of bad at. But as long as he's in the woods, he's at home. There's a paladin kit called the Chevalier, which is the paladin version of the what's it called? Cavalier. It's the paladin version of the Cavalier, and the Chevalier's mount actually gains levels, I think. And so you get a horse at level 1, and it gains levels with you. It's really cool. And the horse gets stronger and stronger, and gets more health and better armor class and stuff like that, and can learn more and more tricks. And then there are more religious kits for the paladin. Like there's a kit for the paladin where you gain magic spells at earlier levels than normal, but you're not as good with weapons as a normal paladin. They're like a more priest-like version of the paladin, and they're much more in depth with a religious organization than a normal paladin is. Because normal paladins are essentially, they're like a knight. They are spiritual and honorable, and they work for, like a lord or a political organization of some type, and they're very pious, and they give away their money to the poor, and they help people whenever they ask for it and stuff like that. And there are more religious versions of that and less religious versions of that in the different kits for the paladin. And then the 4th warrior class, the one that's not in the player's handbook, is called the barbarian. And the barbarian is a warrior that comes from a far less technologically advanced society than what is normal for the AD&D world. So a barbarian might come from a prehistoric campaign or a more prehistoric part of the world than a normal character, or from a tribal society living in wildlands, on border regions between two, normal cultures for AD&D second edition. So, all those things are possible. And then the barbarian itself has different versions. So there's like sort of like a Native American type version of barbarian that is really good with horses, and they shoot bows a lot, and their culture is very religious, and then you have like more like a Pacific Islander type of barbarian. They're good at sailing. A lot of their weapons are made of like wood and stone, and they are really useful on like remote islands and stuff like that. And then you have like sort of like the normal barbarian from old school D&D that where the barbarian it's the barbarian that hates arcane magic and wizards in general, and they try to eradicate arcane magic from the world and kill enemy wizards whenever possible, and try to destroy magical items. And they actually gain experience for destroying magical items rather than using them. And there's other versions of the barbarian too in the Barbarian's Handbook. There's one that's really similar to Berserker. So it's more like the 5th edition barbarian, where the barbarian can go into like a berserk rage and can accidentally attack his own teammates if he fails to come out of his berserk rage when all the enemies are dead. So yeah, there's a bunch of different barbarians too. There's a bunch of different fighters, a bunch of different rangers, a bunch of different paladins and barbarians. So, but those are the 4 warrior archetypes in 2nd edition D&D. The fighter, paladin, ranger, and barbarian. And those are all legal in my game. And you can play any of those that you want to. And that's pretty much what the group needs right now, is a single classed warrior, because the current single class warrior basically said that today was going to be his last session with us because of time constraints. He's got to do other things on Saturday now. So, and he had a really cool character. He had an ogre fighter that dual wielded 2-handed swords. So he really was effective at killing things, especially big things. But something happened where his wife lost her job, and he's got to use his Saturdays to make money now.
Yikes.
Yep. Is the warrior archetype something that you would be interested in playing?
I will have to create it. I
Yeah.
have nothing to work with.
Right. Did any of those 4 warrior archetypes sound more interesting than the others?
Paladin, no, it's boring. I don't want to use it.
Does that mean that I can have doubts about my husband?
I don't know. I will have to think about.
Okay. I can. Let's see. There is a book for barbarians. I'll see if I can find a PDF of it and give it to you. I don't know if you're interested in barbarians, but
Not really. I was
yeah.
now that you mention it, if I create a warrior, don't know why, but I want it to be something like The Witcher. You know the game.
Yeah, I've never played it. Um, so Witcher.
He's basically a warrior, but he has certain spells which are basically just to make his job easier. It's not like boom fireball. No, it's actually like utility spells. So he's pretty much a warrior.
Yeah. In AD&D Second Edition, a warrior that has wizard spells is a dual or a multi-class character called a fighter mage. Unless you dual class. So one cool ability that humans have in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is they can play as one class, and then if they have the stats for it, they can switch from their original class to another class. And you have to have you have to have a 17 in the prime requisites of the class you switch to, and at least a 15 in the prime requisites of the class you switch from. So if you started like as a fighter, and then became a mage, if you had a 15 in strength and a 17 intelligence, you could do that. Because the fighter's only prime requisite is strength, and the wizard's only prime requisite is intelligence. And you would have you would have more health by starting as a fighter too. And then as soon as you switch to mage, you would have access to first level spells, which are mostly utility. They're like weak utility spells. And there's some damage spells too, but the casting level is really low when you first get them, so they don't do much damage.
It will depend in how developed the campaign is right now.
Yeah, currently the campaign's difficulty is set to level 10. So because of that, you're going to gain levels really fast. And like for example, the previous warrior, I think he's now level 6, and he only played maybe 6 sessions, I think. Let me check. He is.
So basically, one level per session.
It depends. It really depends. Okay, no, he's level 4, but he has only played about 5 or 6 sessions, so I think he missed a couple, and he just started playing with us back in like September or something, maybe October. So, but yeah, he definitely gained a level his first session. I know that. He got to level 2 at the end of his first session. And then that's pretty normal for my campaign, to go from level 1 to 2 in one session. And then usually from 2 to 3 in one session as well. And then it might take 2 sessions to get to level 4. So, depending on what kind of warrior you choose, though, some warriors are slower than others. Like the fighter is the fastest warrior. They gain levels faster than the other warriors. Paladins, rangers, and barbarians use the same um, experience table, and theirs is a little slower than the fighter. Let's see, tables, warrior experience levels. So for level 10 fighter, it's 500,000 points, and for paladin and ranger, it's 600,000. So they're slightly slower. Paladin, ranger, and barbarian. Sorry. Level 2 is only 2,000 points for fighter, and paladin and ranger is 2,250. So just a little bit slower.
I see.
But that's mostly because those classes get spells, I think. That's the reason why they did that. But the sessions are usually pretty epic. Like just 2 sessions ago, this character, the warrior, he is he's an ogre fighter, and he's basically like the big beefy guy in the group, and he was involved in an attack on the party. Okay, so someone in the party has a magical item that allows them to create a tower every night to camp. So they camp in this tower. And this tower in the middle of the night was attacked by 3 gargantuan centipedes. And what they did was they crawled up the outside of the tower to attack the characters that were on top, that were guarding. And the the ogre fighter ended up waking up in the middle of the night, grabbing his swords, and running up the stairs of the tower to run, to the roof outside where the gargantuan centipedes were. And he killed 2 of the centipedes, and they fell off the tower into the lava, like the hot lava below, right? And then the 3rd centipede grabbed him around the waist with its mandibles and picked him up and started squeezing him. And in doing so, it pinned his 2 swords to his sides, so he couldn't fight back with his swords. But one of the other characters that was on the rooftop threw his longsword up and to the ogre fighter for him to catch it, and he caught it and cut off the centipede's head and killed it. And he won the encounter. And I thought that was a pretty epic encounter because they were surrounded by lava in this tower, this metal tower sticking up, out of the ground or whatever. And they were deep underground in a mushroom forest. And they could see the mushrooms by the glowing light of, all the magma or the lava around them. And, fighting these 3 gargantuan centipedes on top of a tower, and the ogre got picked up by one of them and started getting crushed, and he lopped off the head. That's how the adventure scenes are in this campaign. They're a lot of fun, especially for warriors because of stuff like that. So because warriors normally end up on the front lines, unless you create like a more ranged like warrior or something, like a ranger or someone who uses a bow or a crossbow or guns. I also have guns in my campaign.
Well, that was an unexpected twist.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so guns are a very new technology. So, just the basics about them is known. So you can use guns to shoot through armor, pretty much. So armor class, when it comes to army versus army, armor class doesn't really matter. So in this one part of the world, knights are becoming obsolete because you can just shoot through their armor at close range, and because guns have armor piercing properties, and then that they also have really really long range too. So there's beginning to beat out crossbows, and then the thing that holds guns back though is you have to spend a whole round reloading in between shots, unless you are a highly trained warrior who's like specialized in one particular type of gun. Then you can shoot every round. But normally they shoot only every other round. So if you want to fire firearms, a couple times around or whatever, you have to have multiple pistols in your belt. You can pull out, fire, and drop. Pull more and more pistols out and drop them as you go. Or have someone reload for you, which is kind of a bummer for that person. So, yeah, the cool thing about warriors is they can specialize, or not necessarily specialize, but they can, fighters can specialize, paladins, rangers, and barbarians can expertise. If you were to expertise or specialize in one particular firearm, you can use that firearm every round because you are specialized at reloading it and stuff, because you've done a lot of training and whatnot. And then if you roll a 1 when you shoot firearms, there's a table for it's called misfire, and there's different misfire results. There's explosions, fouled barrels, and hang fires. The explosion is really rare, but you take 2d6 damage from the explosion. Or if you pass save versus death, you only take 1d6. But the gun is destroyed if there's an explosion. And then if there's a fouled barrel, it cannot shoot until carefully cleaned for 1d3 times 10 minutes. So either 10, 20, or 30 minutes cleaning the gun to get it back to operational status or whatever. And then there's hang fire, which is the most common. And what it does is the gun goes off 1d3 rounds after you pull the trigger. So if you put the gun down or something, wherever it's facing, it will shoot whenever the timer goes off. And the players aren't supposed to know when the timer goes off. Like, you just know that it's still burning, the gunpowder is still burning inside the chamber. So, and if you mess with it, it'll probably explode, more than likely. So you either have to hold on to it or set it down. And if you hold on to it, you have to keep it trained on your enemy for up to 3 rounds. That would suck, not shooting for 3 rounds. And if you set it down, you risk shooting your friends or whatever. So if it got knocked over or whatever, you might shoot your friends. But other than that, they're firearms are pretty cool. They do lots of damage. They have long ass range. There's actually a chance for firearms to do open-ended damage. It's a 25% chance per shot, and if the 25% chance is successful, then you roll again for 25%, and you keep rolling until it fails. And each successful 25% roll does another die of damage. So some of the guns can do a lot of damage. Particularly the larger ones.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, but in the place where the player character party is currently at, it's a common technology. Guns are everywhere, and they've been like that for probably about 5 years or so. So, half a decade of firearms in the culture. It's a Western European culture, but there's different cultures within the region, and it has affected different cultures, differently. The kingdom in the center of the continent is responsible for developing the technology inadvertently, and they're currently in a semi-post-apocalyptic state because of some invasions that happened to them. So, but the region that the party is in right now is still pretty normal, other than the existence of firearms. And currently the group is on a mission underground. If you could call it a mission. It's more like a quest. So.
Okay, seems good. So I will have to think about what character I will make for a.
Okay.
I don't really play warriors in general. I find them boring. But I always found them boring to see.
Warriors are boring to see?
From my eyes, I think they are. I haven't seen much warriors in general, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only warriors I've seen are basically paladins, in which these paladins are always doing shit with magic, so they are not really paladin warriors.
Oh.
I don't know. It will be a new experience, that's for sure.
Yeah. In AD&D 2nd edition, paladins are probably different than what you're thinking of in Warhammer. Paladins don't gain magic spells in 2nd edition D&D until they're level 8. So for those first 7 levels, they're basically a nerfed fighter that can't master weapons. But their main strength is their mount. By level 3, I think, they're supposed to get a bonded mount. And it could be anything from a horse to a dragon, depending on the whim of the DM. And my house rule for bonded mounts is the bonded mount will be whatever the group encounters after the paladin gets to level 3 that is a suitable sized mount. So anything from a unicorn to a giant eagle to a rock to a camel. I've had a paladin that got a white buffalo as a bonded mount. I thought it was pretty cool. I had never heard of anything like that before in D&D, where a paladin rode a buffalo. But that character was pretty cool because of his buffalo. And eventually he had magic spells, but the player was so entranced with the fact that the paladin had a buffalo that the spells were not important. It was the buffalo that was important. So I'm glad that I had the chance to run that encounter where the paladin gained a buffalo. It was pretty epic.
Yeah, sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's I think it's more interesting that way, to just leave it up to random chance, because I use random encounters, so things become a lot more interesting that way. I mean, if a paladin was in the group and the group encountered, Pegasus or hippogriffs or even a dragon, I'd give them that, whatever it was.
Is there any limit to these random encounters? For example, you are in middle of northern lands and you find a fire elemental.
The northern lands, you said?
Yeah. Places where the cold is the main thing.
The Arctic.
And you find a fire elemental.
No, normally fire elementals are not found in the Arctic. So, things that are found in the Arctic are as follows. Let's see. Arctic.
I just wanted to know if random encounters have some limit.
Yeah, there's a limit. Okay, so the Arctic encounters are white pudding, white dragon, remoraz, giant owl, constrictor snake, herd animals, so like, Arctic sheep, stuff like that, tribesmen, polar bears, there's blizzards or unsafe ice, there's wolves, there's frost giants, yetis, ice toads, winter wolves, and then DM special. Whatever the DM special is. DM special is usually the DM picks by hand, but I like to roll randomly.
Interesting.
So, for example, my DM special for Arctic would be DM special temperate. So that's let's see, chat, random encounters, special, DM special temperate. So Coatl, you know what a Coatl is?
No.
It is a snake with wings. Let's see, hold on. Coatl. I just rolled a random DM special, and it came up Coatl. I'll send an image in Discord. Okay, the Coatl. So that's what a Coatl is. It's a small snake that has feathered wings.
Oh, I've seen images, but I never knew that.
So, but I use published encounter tables. So they're all from AD&D 2nd edition Monstrous Compendium. That's where all my tables come from, except for the extra planar ones. Those come from the Planescape campaign box set. And then my outer space encounter tables are all they're all extrapolated from Spelljammer campaign box set. So they don't have very many encounter tables that are actually published for Spelljammer. You have to make your own, which is kind of a drag, but it can make things more interesting depending on the DM. So, because most of the things that you run into when you're playing Spelljammer is supposed to be like environmental anomalies. And there are a lot of environmental anomalies in Spelljammer. Quite a few. Some of them are random too, like randomly different. But I haven't taken this group into outer space yet, but hopefully someday. Someday.
Someday.
Yeah.
Will be interesting how you will make it so they have the possibility to go to outer space.
Right, yeah. I wanted to run a few character story arcs before introducing other worlds. And the current adventure is the first character story arc. So it should be interesting. So it's for the highest level character currently in the group. And I was going to run a story arc for like the first 3 characters that get followers. I wanted to run story arcs for them. And then maybe take the group into another world or onto another planet.
Interesting.
So maybe through space or through the multiverse.
I will say something like a rift.
Yeah, it's have you ever heard of the role-playing game called Rifts?
Yeah, I've played it.
Okay.
Though I didn't like it.
Right. So D&D has a very similar thing to Rifts. It's very similar. However, the gateway world is not the planet that you start on. The gateway world is another dimension called the Outlands. And in order to go there, you have to be a dimensional traveler. And you have to basically go into the Planescape campaign, pretty much, to do that.
That sounds a little bit more like in World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Is there... I know in oh, okay, in World of Warcraft. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Warhammer. In Warhammer you have the warp, right?
In Warhammer Warp, yeah, but that's more of a 40k thing. I
Okay.
don't know about Warhammer Fantasy.
Okay. So that dimension doesn't really exist in Warhammer Fantasy?
I think it does because, face it, Warhammer Fantasy is just like an in Middle Age, but of the same world.
Yeah.
40k is just like a the future of Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, yep. Distant future.
Yeah, basically, mages, wizards, priests, all that is considered to be its own thing, but in the future, it then is known that all these powers are given by the warp.
Right.
All that thing.
Yeah, and they all become psionic powers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything gets grouped up into psychic powers
Yeah.
and warp monsters and shit and more shit and more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that should be enough about the campaign for you to choose what kind of character you want to make. I think. Are you interested in using firearms at all as a warrior or no?
I'm interested, but I have to go into the creation process because
Yeah.
I don't know how to make it.
Right, right.
I want to be original. I want to be to be cool. I don't want to have something like they say like the warrior just said. And another with two long swords. I don't know why I see it as something you will imagine every normal roleplay game. I want to make something different.
Yeah. um I will invite you to the game, and if you have time we can roll up stats at least. Does that sound fair?
Sure.
Okay.
I already did my sheet with the roles and all that, but of course I'm not going to play the character I thought I was going to use. We're going to do a warrior, so
Yeah. So we'll roll up completely new stats and all that. Okay. Parker. So. Okay. I found the page that you're on. Vega. Okay. Alright, so I sent you an invite to the game. So if you refresh your Roll20 page.
yeah, Fred did it.
I am cleaning it for a friend.
For a friend.
Now, you know what?
Alright, connecting, establishing several uplink.
Now I'm cleaning it.
David, it's loaded.
I was gonna pull the trigger.
Never, ever clean a loaded gun.
Okay. Good to know.
You can't keep it.
I'm a grown man. I'm not some kid you have to supervise with scissors.
Fine. Prove that you're capable. Point the gun at me, and if you can pull the trigger before I disarm you, then you can keep it.
And I'm not pulling the gun.
You better throw it out.
I'm not gonna do that either. It was expensive.
Fine, then I will.
Okay, this is stupid.
Point the gun at me.
You sure you got all the bullets out?
Never ever look down the barrel of a firearm. The chamber's clear.
Well, I'm in now.
Point the gun and pull the trigger.
Okay. So I will. As soon as my page loads, I had to reload because I had to remove the old fighter from the campaign. And whenever you remove a player from the campaign, it reloads the whole tabletop. There we go.
Oh, Jesus Christ! What the hell was that for?
To prove a point.
No, it was to cut off my balls and put them in your purse. Which, by the way, is where you keep your gun.
Can't hear your television.
Well, I'm not
Oh,
safe,
could you turn that down, honey?
I can't rely on you to always be there to keep me safe.
Sorry about that.
Who are you watching over me? I've been attacked twice in like 6 months.
Okay. Go ahead and join me on the tabletop, and we can roll up your stats, I guess. And I'll assign you a character sheet.
My God, I am not incompetent. I'm capable. And if you think what?
Say it again. I mean, I'm already in on the tabletop, but
Okay, I see it now.
checked, and then
Character sheet. Edit. Duplicate. Cancel. Okay. Okay. I renamed it Vega. Edit. Players journals, all players. Edit controlled by Vega. Save changes. Show to players. And you should be able to see your character sheet on the screen.
yeah.
Okay. Did you choose which warrior subclass you wanted to be? You're definitely going to be starting at level 1, I know that. And which alignment did you choose? Chaotic neutral, was it?
Well, fuck. I mean, I thought we were going to create this character sheet.
Yeah. We'll roll
other
your.
day or something, so I could get an idea of what character I want to play. I never thought that you were going to straight up do it today, right now.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll roll up your stats to see which classes you qualify for, because I know at least the paladin, you have to have a 17 in charisma. So if you don't roll up at least a 16, I'm pretty sure it's impossible for you to be a paladin, because there's only one race that can be a paladin that adds +1 to charisma, and that's the Azamar, I think. So let's see. I'll give you a token real quick. I'm just gonna give you a random token. Okay. Vega. Save changes. And I might need to turn off dynamic lighting.
Let's talk instead.
Dynamic lighting is not enabled. Okay. I think that's some kind of bard token. Okay, so if you click on that, along the top of the screen, you'll see a bunch of buttons that pop up. And there should be one that says character creation. If you click on that button that says, there you go. So you've got your stats, and that rules you out from being a paladin because your highest stat is 15. So everything below where it says optional traits and social rank, all that stuff is optional. You don't have to take it. That's more for when I create NPCs. So your optional traits are you're usually violent, but frequently a scheming type of male character. And your social rank would be upper middle class. Local officials, jewelers, sages, senior officers, minor nobles, bannerets.
Oh, okay. Wait a second.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that you cannot be a paladin.
Okay.
Let's see if you can become a ranger with those stats. Pretty sure ranger would work with that, but let me check real quick. Classes. Whoops. Warrior. Ranger. They need 13 strength and dex and 14 con and wisdom. So you have to have at least 2 13s and 2 14s or higher. And you don't. So you couldn't be, with those stats, you couldn't be a ranger. Let's see if you can be a barbarian. Okay, so D&D. Pretty sure I have the Barbarian's Handbook downloaded. Yep, Barbarian's Handbook. Boom. Quick load. Okay. Oh, cool. I do have word search. Okay, let's see. Ability. Score. Class qualifications. Okay, so the Barbarian Fighter. The Barbarian Fighter's extraordinary stamina and physical skills let him survive in the most punishing environments. He relies on muscle and wits, overcoming hardships with brute force and sheer determination. His weapons are crude, his tactics unsophisticated, but his passion and courage make him the match of any warrior. Requirements. Barbarian Fighters require exceptional strength and endurance, reflected in their ability qualifications. Ability requirements are Strength 12, Dexterity 9, and Constitution 12. You definitely have that. Prime requisites are Strength and Constitution. So if you wanted to switch out of that class, you'd have to have at least 15 in Strength and Constitution, and then at least a 17 in the prime requisite of whatever class you wanted to switch to. So it looks like you're probably not going to be switching classes anytime soon, because you don't have anything near 17.
Yep, yikes. What was it? You've named it. The kid that was like a battle mage.
Well, there are no fighter kits that have magic. Let's see if there's any barbarian kits that have magic.
No, impossible. From the description you said, they hate magic, isn't it?
That's the barbarian fighter. There might be a different. different take on barbarians in here. So let's see. The shaman. Alignment. Magic. The barbarian divides magic into two categories. The first, homeland magic, includes spells common to his native territory. In game terms, this category includes the low-level clerical spells of the spheres available to barbarians, items that mimic the effects of these spells, and the special items described in Chapter 5 of this book. The second category, outworld magic, comprises the spells and magical items used everywhere else in the world. This category includes high-level clerical spells denied barbarians, all wizard spells, and items that mimic the effects of these spells. A barbarian remains wary of all magic-wielding player characters in his adventuring party, regardless of their alignments or personalities. No matter if a PC wizard has intervened on his behalf or even saved his life, a barbarian has a hard time making friends with someone who dabbles in supernatural forces. That's cool.
Not the kind of thing we're searching for, is it?
A barbarian earns normal experience points if he destroys an outworld magical item instead of keeping it. For example, a barbarian earns 3,500 XP if he hurls a wand of paralyzation into the ocean. The DM may deny this award if the item belonged to a PC companion or an NPC of good alignment. Huh. A barbarian earns 150% of the normal amount of experience points if he slays an evil wizard or priest. If an evil wizard has an XP value of 2,000, a barbarian earns 3,000 XP for destroying him. The DM awards a bonus of up to 200 XP per session if the player roleplays his barbarian as exceptionally superstitious and distrustful of magic. Nice. Campaign economics, fair trade, language, unique languages, strongholds, followers, barbarian aid. Huh. Barbarian reaction penalty, questionable hygiene, unique native language, bizarre appearance, eccentric behavior, constant scratching, gropes the faces of strangers, nervously hops around, hostile attitude, growls, clenches fists, grinds teeth. Okay, physical abilities, acquiring kits, kit subsections, fighter kits. Okay, the brush runner. Sprinting, enhanced leaping and springing, battle frenzy, create artworks, armor penalty, moiety tasks. Every year, a brush runner must complete a task designated by his moiety elders. Completing the task proves allegiance to the elders and affirms kinship with the moiety. The brush runner must return to his moiety estate every year to receive a new task. If this is impractical, the brush runner repeats the same task from the previous year. The DM assigns a task from the following list or may make up his own. The Brute. The most primitive barbarian, the Brute, combines traits of both humans and animals. He is heavily built and thick-boned, with a sloping skull resting low on his neck, and fanged jaws protruding over a receding chin. Coarse hair covers his hide-like skin. Long, powerful arms let him lope on all fours and clamber up trees like a monkey. Lacking the intelligence of other barbarians, he depends on his keen senses, natural resilience, and sharp instincts to help him survive. Okay. I don't think he gets any spells. Enhanced natural armor, improved climbing, wild brawl, enhanced sense of smell. Surprise bonus. Because the brute's sharp senses, he receives a +2 bonus to his surprise rolls. Oh, against being surprised. Okay. And then he gets reduced movement. A brute has a base movement rate of 12 instead of 15. Language limit. A brute can't know more than a single language. Limited magic. A brute will not use magical items that require command words or concentration for their use. He can use magical potions, clothing, and weapons. Forest Lord. Forest Lord is a defender of the natural world, the guardian of an unsettled wilderness he claims as his domain. He attends to the welfare of animals and retaliates against trespassers. They get... kinsman must be non-magic. Let's see. The player selects a kinsman type subject to the DM's approval or rolls 1d6 and consults table 23. The DM may add other options to table 23. A forest lord's kinsmen encompass all species of the type, not just a specific animal. For instance, if a forest lord has chosen felines for kinsmen, he considers himself related to all types of felines such as tigers, lions, and even house cats. Animal kinsmen include outworld species as well as those native to the forest lord's homeland. Kinsmen must be non-magical and must have an intelligence of semi or lower. So, feline, canine, elephant, serpent, bear, or primate. And special benefits are stealth. Forest Lord receives a +2 bonus to all hiding proficiency checks. In natural settings, he has a 5% chance per level to a maximum of 95% to move silently as the thief skill. Enhanced healing. A Forest Lord recovers lost hit points at twice normal rate. This does not apply to magical healing. Speak with animals, summon kinsmen, treetop movement, special hindrance, weapon restriction, honor, animal kinsman. Okay. If a forest lord violates any of these principles, he is consumed by remorse and cannot use his special benefits for 44 days. Okay. 4d4. Islander. A native of a tropical island or sea coast, the islander is equally at home on land and in the water. Carefree and hedonistic, he spends his days drifting in handcrafted canoes, collecting colorful seashells, and munching coconuts and bark. His intimacy with the spirit world enables him to change his form and create supernatural weapons of extraordinary power. Okay, special benefits, aquatic combat, shape change. Upon achieving 7th level, the islander can change into one of 3 exotic creatures. This power is usable once per day. He can remain in the new form up to an hour. Once he changes back to his human form, he can't shape change again until the following day. An islander can continue to speak in his normal voice when shape changed. All these creatures are about 5 feet long. There's the mulch iguana, the coral turtle, and the shadow crab. And then he gets a mana weapon. An islander believes in a life force called mana that represents the spiritual essence of his ancestors. With assistance from his ancestors, portions of his life force can be transferred to spears, clubs, and knives. An islander can attempt to create such a mana weapon once per month. An islander must be at least 3rd level to create a mono weapon. He buries either a spear, club, or knife he made himself beneath a foot of soil or sand. After praying to his ancestors' spirits, he lies over the buried weapon and sleeps through the night. He invests 1,000 of his acquired experience points. Note that if he doesn't have at least 1,000 experience points in excess of the number needed to advance to the next level, he cannot make a mono weapon. When the islander awakens, he adds his wisdom, charisma, and intelligence scores, then rolls percentile dice. If the result is greater than this sum, the attempt fails. He loses 100 of the 1,000 invested experience points and retains 900. He may try again next month. If the result is less than or equal to the sum, the attempt succeeds and he loses all 1,000 of the invested experience points. His weapon gains the following properties. It has a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls. It is invisible to everyone except the islander. It can only be wielded by the islander. To all others, the weapon is as insubstantial as air. Wow. Special hindrances, reduced physical abilities, reduced movement, hungry Baloma. The islander believes he is always accompanied by an invisible spirit called a Baloma, derived from the essences of his ancestors. To honor the Baloma and stay in his good graces, he must keep it fed. Every day, the islander must provide the Baloma a small meal, such as a fish, a portion of red meat, a few bananas, or a bowl of grain. To feed the Baloma, the islander buries the meal, throws it in a fire, or otherwise destroys it. The meal may not be eaten by another person or creature. If it is, the islander has insulted the Baloma. Wow. Plains Rider. Let's see. Plains Riders get counting coup bonus. A Plains Rider earns the normal amount of experience points for defeating opponents. He also earns a 10% bonus if he proves his courage by counting coup, touching the opponent sometime during a dangerous encounter. Oh. To qualify for the bonus, the Plains Rider must maneuver within range and touch the opponent with his coup stick or his bare hand. Make a normal attack roll. The touch inflicts no damage. The opponent must be actively dangerous, and the touch must involve genuine risk. The DM may veto the bonus if the Plains Rider takes exceptional measures to protect himself, such as turning invisible or hiding behind his horse. War Cry. Once per day, the Plains Rider can emit a war cry, a series of piercing shrieks and whoops intended to terrify his opponents. A war cry lasts for 1 round. All creatures within 100 feet of the Plains Rider except the primary mount, the Plains Rider's companions, and his companions' mounts may be affected by the war cry. Creatures with less than 1 hit die and 0 level characters automatically respond as if affected by a fear spell, fleeing from the Plains Rider as fast as they can for 1d4 rounds. All other creatures and characters must make individual saving throws versus spells. If a throw succeeds, the character or creature suffers no ill effects. If the throw fails, the character suffers a -2 penalty to its morale and a -1 penalty to all attacks and damage rolls for the next 2d6 rounds. And horsemanship. When riding his primary mount, the Plains Rider gains the following benefits. Primary mount never panics as long as the Plains Rider remains mounted. He gains a +1 bonus to his chance to hit all creatures smaller than his mount, that is, all medium-sized and smaller creatures. That's for anyone riding a horse, actually. And he gains a +2 bonus to all land-based riding proficiency checks. That's what's up. Because that's normally a +3. So +2 more would be +5. That's awesome. If the Plains Rider's primary mount is slain or lost, he may trade for, capture, or steal a new horse. Marksmanship. When using his bow, the Plains Rider gains the following benefits. He can fire 3 arrows per round. An incendiary arrow described in Chapter 5 can be fired only once per round. He uses the following modifiers for a ranged fire. Short range equals +1. Wow. Medium range equals 0. Long range equals -3. Basically, he always gets a... Oh. I guess that's different at each range. Well, no. At medium range and long range, it's a +2. At short range, it's +1. When riding his primary mount, he suffers no penalties to his chance to hit. Special hindrances, hunting apology. He has to apologize to his prey. Fear of undead. Next one is the Ravager. To many, the Ravager represents the consummate barbarian, a savage, nearly invincible warrior who fights with unrivaled ferocity. Menacing in attitude and appearance, he has piercing eyes, rippling muscles, and a hair-triggered temper that intimidate friends and foes alike. Weapon proficiencies, non-weapon. Okay, he's got enhanced natural armor. Wow. Level 1 to 2, his armor class is 7. Level 3 to 4, it's 6. Level 5 to 6, it's 5. Every 2 levels, it goes down by 1. Jeez. Become enraged. A Ravager may work himself into a fighting frenzy, increases his effectiveness in combat. To use this ability, he must spend 1 round doing nothing but building up his rage. He chews on his shield, stomps his feet, and growls like a bear. Wow, 1 round. That's it. At the end of this round, he saves versus death magic. If the throw succeeds, he becomes enraged. If the save fails, he cannot work himself into a sufficient frenzy. He can make additional attempts for up to 10 consecutive rounds. On the 11th round, the attempt automatically succeeds. He gains +2 on his attack and damage rolls, -2 bonus to his armor class. All attackers suffer a -1 penalty to their damage rolls. Wow. And he gains +2 to all saves versus charms or mental-based attacks. He gets weaponless combat. When attacking with bare hands, the Ravager inflicts damage as if attacking with a club. 1d6 HP damage against small and medium opponents. 1d3 HP damage against large opponents. Nice. His hands are like clubs. Become enraged penalties. Involuntary rage. And then there's the Wizard Slayer. Wizard Slayer gets protection from evil, no alignment, detect illusion, detect magic. Oh, hey! This is a lot like The Witcher.
Yeah, I mean, the Witcher he uses magic to destroy magic. Well, he actually just destroys creatures. He's more of a bounty hunter, but it can work.
Yeah.
The problem is, really, the party has any mage, any wizard, because we could face some problems.
Maybe. Let's see. Special hindrances. No magical items. A Wizard Slayer can't use magical items of any kind. If the Barbarian allows a wizard to cast a spell on him, he loses all special benefits for 24 hours or until an atonement spell absolves the violation. Combat compulsion. In combat situations, a wizard slayer must seek out an evil wizard or priest in preference to all other potential opponents. If the party encounters a horde of ogres and an evil priest, the wizard slayer directs his attack against the priest. If the barbarian hears rumors of an evil wizard in a mountaintop castle, he feels compelled to track him down unless his companions convince him otherwise or forcibly restrain him. This compulsion doesn't necessarily interfere with his common sense or his responsibilities to his friends. If a companion dangling from a cliff calls for the wizard slayer's help, the barbarian will interrupt his attacks against an evil priest to rescue him, then resume his attacks when his companion is safe. Okay. Wizard slayers are obsessed with destroying practitioners of evil magic. They come from cultures where the practice of magic is reserved for an elite group of elders. The elders examine every baby born to the tribe, looking for omens. An unusual birthmark, a head of white hair, or a complete set of teeth may be interpreted as a sign of the gods have selected the baby to become a wizard slayer. The elders... Oh, so you could have white hair just like Witcher, right? Doesn't he have white hair? Yeah.
That was actually something I didn't expect to be in there.
The elders take the child from his mother and raise him as their own. 3 concentric circles are tattooed on his forehead to indicate his status. When the child reaches maturity, the elders bathe him in magical oils and direct him to inhale the fumes of a sacred incense. These treatments provide him with special magical powers to detect evildoers and resist their magic. The elders then send him into the outworld to exterminate evil wizards and priests on the tribe's behalf. Requirements. A wizard slayer must be of good alignment. So you can't be neutral. You have to be good. But you could be chaotic good, which is also another form of anti-hero.
Yeah, I was thinking about that even before you said that. I was thinking about doing a chaotic good.
Yeah. Because Batman, he breaks the law all the time, but he does it in order to do good things by putting bad guys in jail. Robin Hood, kind of an anti-hero because he steals and stuff, but he robs from the rich to give to the poor. So, and usually the rich people that he steals from are assholes. So, yeah, he's kind of an anti-hero.
We could say the same thing about the Inquisition. Yeah, because they want to regulate and make order, so everything that the religion wants gets everything works in the society, even though that means killing and destroying things in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can put Barbarian as a class, and then Wizard Slayer as the kit. And then you'd be human, because I think only humans can be barbarians. And then I will put all this text on your character sheet. I think I'll just take a picture, actually. Screenshot. Hero character 7. The power of battle compels you. And then, what do you want your character to be named?
Let me think about it for a second. So it's Wizard Slayer, so
Let's see, heroic characters 1. So I'm pretty sure it's made by Devon Knight. Devon Knight.
I don't know what name to use.
Heroic. (20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. 9, 8, 7. There he is. Human. Demon Hunter. Human male demon hunter. Demon hunter token. Where?
With Sam? He's actually outside. My brother?
Oh.
My brother from another mother. I didn't know how much longer you were going to be. I was going nuts. I won't be gone long.
Okay.
You okay? You want me to bring him up so you can meet him? Look, upside. Oh, I love you. I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, I think I have a name for the character.
Human male demon hunter token. Mm. Okay. Did you put the name in?
I was going to ask you that. Where do we put it?
Do you see your character sheet?
Yeah.
If you see the 3 tabs along the top, it says bio and info, character sheet, and abilities, attributes and abilities.
Yeah.
If you click on the character sheet one, the very first field is your character's name.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, then.
Oh. Gravo Tyrannus. Cool. Barbarian Wizard Slayer. Check out with PayPal. Okay, I should have these in my library now, I think. Premium assets, marketplace purchases. Oh, I think I have to reload my tabletop. And then go ahead and plug in your stats too. Wizard Slayer must be of good alignment. Uh,
Any way to change the volume from the music in Roll20?
yeah, in the My Settings tab, it's the one that looks like a gear. There's a volume slider for music.
Okay, sorry.
Oh wow, they're required to take proficiency with the short bow.
Well, that's interesting.
He begins with hide armor, a small shield, and a leather quiver of 3d4 spirit arrows. Gifts from his tribal elders. See chapter 5 for more about spirit arrows.
Do we still have a while to do? Because it's 1 a.m. here in Spain.
Yeah, we still have a while. Let's see. Are you wanting to just go to sleep? Process.
I mean, not for now, but very soon.
Yeah. Let's see. I've got your token in my library now. There's this one and this one. I think they're identical. They're just reverse. I'm going to check to see if they're identical. Yeah, I think they are identical. They're just reverse. So are you right-handed or left-handed? Or the character, sorry.
Right-handed.
Right-handed, so I guess that would be... this one. Oh yeah, your name's not Vega anymore. Gravo. Okay. Gravo. HP. Bases. AC. Advanced. 0 feet, 0 feet, has sight. Okay, save changes. And you can put in your a picture of your character as the avatar whenever you want to. You know how to do that?
That will change my entire profile picture, or
No, it doesn't change your profile picture. It changes the the picture on your character sheet. There'll actually be a character sheet picture. Because if you click on the journal tab, your character sheet is the one that's all the way at the top, and it currently has no.
Okay.
Currently has
Yeah.
no picture.
No, I don't know how to do that.
So you open up the character sheet and you click on the edit button, and it will open up a version of the character sheet where you can drag and drop a picture into the little box for your avatar,
okay.
or you can upload one straight from your a picture file or something on your computer. I'm actually going to see if any of these tokens are usable as for followers for Shannon. Hmm. Have you figured out where you want to put your stats yet? Oh wow, nice.
Nope. Have to check that.
Let's see. For barbarian, you had to have.
I think you've said it. It was in strength and constitution.
I think, yeah, those are the prime requisites, but I think there were two more stat requirements. Ability, class qualifications, page 7. Find class qualifications. Yeah, there was one more. You have to have a dexterity of 9 or higher. Strength 12, con 12, dex 9. And your prime requisites are strength and con.
Okay, done.
Okay, so you got 15, 15, 12, 12, 12, 11, enter. Yeah, 3 12s, 2 15s, and 11. Those are, all in all, that's pretty decent stats.
I thought they were bad because like half of the things that I wanted, half of the things, yeah, I couldn't have them.
And then your birthday is June 19th. Copy. Paste. Save changes. And then your social rank is upper middle class. Jewelers, sages, senior officers, minor nobles. Guild masters, herbalists, historians, armorers, wealthy merchants, astronomers, major landowners, navigators, weaponsmiths, composers, scholars, minor military commanders, nobles, ship captains, architects, engineers, shipwrights. The only thing that really sticks out that could be used for a barbaric society would be herbalists for upper middle class. Do you want to belong to a family of herbalists?
The other options?
Local officials, jewelers, sages, senior officers, minor nobles like barons, guild masters, herbalists, historians, armorers, wealthy merchants, astronomers, major landowners, navigators, weaponsmiths. Oh, weaponsmiths. Composers, scholars, minor military commanders, nobles like earls, ship captains, architects, engineers, and shipwrights. I guess weaponsmiths works. Merchants, wealthy merchants works. Historians works because they probably have like oral history, you know. So
Yeah.
a historian would probably be pretty rich. Jewelers, sages, they probably wouldn't have in their society. Usually sages read books and shit. Astronomer would work well.
Astronomer?
Yeah. So would I guess weaponsmith and herbalist would be the two most prominent things out of there that would work well with a barbaric society. Unless you can think of some other way one of the other ones works well.
I wouldn't say it's astronomer. They are probably too primal to even understand astronomy.
Yeah.
It will be always related to religion, so it wouldn't be much really astronomy.
Yeah. Composers would work too. Some weird barbaric kind of symphonic music, you know? Like a drum symphony or something, and your
Gonna
family.
play a tune and break your
Yeah.
fucking face.
Yeah.
I think I will go with the weaponsmith. I imagine this wizard slayer having a family that literally gives him all the weapons that he needs to slay as much magic creatures as possible.
Yeah, so social class, upper middle class, weaponsmiths. Copy. Paste. And then the barbaric societies in my campaign, they worship animal gods. So I'll show you some of the animal religions. Snake. Show to players. Show to everyone. So that one is Snake. And then there's also Raven. And there's also Coyote. Ooh. And I'll be right back. I have to use the restroom real quick. It'll be 60 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. These are just the most common ones. I could probably add more if that's not enough.
I will go for the Raven if the
Okay. Um, every warrior starts with 4 weapon proficiencies and 3 non-weapon proficiencies. uh,
can I get a list of weapons to know which one?
yeah, it should be on your character sheet because they have weapon limitations. Should be in your bio in the description of your class.
What? Whoops.
Let's see. Weapon proficiencies is required that they take short bow. Non-weapon proficiencies recommended crude weapon smithing, danger sense, endurance, hunting, light sleeping, survival, tracking, weapon improvisation. Bard is all proficiencies from the shaman list. Okay. Wow. It just says that they're required to take the short bow. They're not barred from anything unless there's something in the Barbarian's Handbook where they're barred from. Let's see. Weapons. Armor and weapons. In general, barbarians wield only weapons made of stone, wood, bone, or similarly crude materials because they lack the knowledge to create sophisticated weapons like crossbows and man catchers. They're usually limited to the following choices. Axe, including hand axe, battle axe, and throwing axe. The blowgun with barbed darts or needles. The short bow with flight arrows. Club, dagger, dart, harpoon, javelin, knife, quarterstaff, sling with stones only, and spears. And because they don't really specify, you could also take composite short bow, which actually gives you, if you have strength bonuses to hit and damage, it combines with your dex bonuses, which is really nice. They just have slightly shorter long range, the composite bows do. It's the only drawback, really. And that hardly ever comes into play anyways.
Yeah, probably I'm not going to use any type of stealth, so the range isn't irrelevant. Well, if I'm going to do this list of weapons, do you have any image that I can use to see the entire list? I mean, I could see it from your Twitch stream.
No, I'll send you the list. I have an image right here where you can see the entire list. It's there on the left side where it says armor and weapons.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to put this list on your character sheet too. Barbarian fighters advance in level at a slower rate than standard warriors. They also use 12-sided dice to determine their hit points, receiving 1d12 hit points per level up to 9th, then gaining 3 hit points for every additional level. Table 3 lists these advancement rates along with the corresponding SACO scores, the number rolled on 1d20 to hit armor class 0. 2 adjustments also apply. A barbarian fighter whose strength and constitution scores are both 16 or more receive a 10% bonus to all earned experience points. A barbarian with an unusually high constitution score receives a hit point adjustment as a warrior. A score of 17 gains plus 3 bonus per hit die. A score of 18 gains a plus 4 bonus. Table 4 indicates a barbarian fighter's proficiency slot allowances and saving throws by level. Oh! Paralyzed, poison, death. 14, 16, 15, 17. That's the same as warrior. They have warrior saving throws. I'm going to put this page in there. Barbarian fighters have a base movement rate of 15. Yeah, I'm going to copy this page and put it in there too. It's funny, you move faster than a normal human because you're a barbarian. I always thought that was funny about
So I
the
have
barbarian class.
proficiency on four weapons, and in which
Well, you have 4 slots to spend. You don't necessarily have to spend them on 4 different weapons, because
oh.
you although you can't specialize, you can expertise in a weapon, which is 2 slots, and you get all of the benefits of specialization except for the bonuses to hidden damage. But you do get the extra attacks from specialization. You get basically all the other benefits from specialization except the bonus to hidden damage. So some like magic weapons have hidden abilities that only specialists can use, and expertise will allow you to unlock those hidden abilities. And that's very rare weapons are like that, though. But I'm pretty sure you're barred from using any magical weapons anyways, so...
Yeah, I cannot use them.
Yeah.
In fact, if I use any type of magic weapon, I get rid of all my benefits for 24 hours.
Yeah. The cool side of that, though, is if you destroy or dispose of magical items, you earn 150% of the experience point value for it. For example, if you toss a ring of shocking grasp into a crevasse, you earn 1,500 experience points instead of the normal 1,000. This benefit
Yeah,
applies
seems
only to
nice.
magical weapons of an evil alignment or those created or wielded by an evil wizard or priest. Okay.
So if, wait a second, if it's something that's not related to dog, like for example, something that heals you, I don't know, it exists, and like a ring that heals you.
There's
Something like that.
there's a ring of 3 wishes that you can use to heal yourself, and that's worth
That
a
thing
lot
will
of XP. Yeah.
I could use it, right? I mean, it's not a dark type of magic.
Let's see. No magical items. A wizard slayer can't use magical items of any kind. If the barbarian allows a wizard to cast a spell on him, he loses all special benefits for 24 hours or until an atonement spell absolves the violation.
Okay, basically that. Yeah, I cannot even use.
Yeah, you basically hate magic. Other than the spells that you use from your because you were basically baptized as a wizard slayer, pretty much, and your baptism gave you special magical powers. You have protection. You have protection from evil. You have no alignment. You have detect illusion. You have detect magic. You have. You can attack magical creatures. It says a wizard slayer can strike at creatures normally immune to non-magical attacks. At 4th level, he can make attacks with a +1 or better weapon, or against creatures that normally can only be hit with a +1 or better weapon. At 6th level, he can attack creatures requiring +2 weapon. At 8th level, he can attack creatures requiring +3. At 10th, +4, and at 12th, +5. So at 10th level, you could actually hit demi-liches, which is fucking difficult. Normally, you'd have to have a +5 magic weapon to hit a demi-lich, I think. Or maybe it's +4. But, yeah, you get that normally just because your soul powers you up.
So I hate magic, except the magic that I use. Nice.
Yep.
So check my my weapons thing, my weapon proficiency. I think I'm doing something wrong. So I want to
Okay,
have
yeah, I'll
to-
check it. I'll check.
I want to have mastery on the caster stuff, count as 2 slots, the quarter stuff, and then short bow.
Okay, so you're required to take 1 in short bow, so you have to have short bow 1. And then you have 4 more slots. And then you have 3 slots for non-weapon proficiencies, and you also get 3 more bonus slots because of your number of languages from intelligence. And one of those slots has to be spent on your native tongue, which is the common tongue. Let's see, find language. So at the beginning of his career, a barbarian knows only 1 language, the language of his homeland. He can only speak this language. It has no written form. His homeland language may be conventional or unique as determined by the DM. A conventional homeland language is similar to the languages spoken in the Outworld, although it may not translate precisely. A barbarian calls a tree by a different name, and he has no words at all for Outworlder inventions such as glass and steel. Barbarians who speak a conventional tongue have few significant problems communicating with Outworlders. A unique homeland language has no parallel to the Outworld. Most Outworlders find it incomprehensible, a string of animal-like grunts, snorts, or barks. To make matters more confusing, some barbarians augment their speech with chest thumps, whistles, gurgles, tongue clicks, and hums. The language may lack important Outworld concepts such as large numbers, as in a language that calls more than 3 objects simply many. It might describe states of mind an Outworlder can hardly grasp. Huh. But yeah, the your language is pretty conventional. It's similar to the common tongue. You could just call it barbaric common. So just role play it like when you're talking. Let's see, modern barbaric common 1. Barbaric common tongue. Okay, so now you have 5 more slots to spend. There's a list of proficiencies for barbarians. Let's see, fine proficiency. Oh. Oh, you automatically have the hiding proficiency described in Chapter 4 in your homeland terrain. No proficiency slots are needed. You're inherently skilled at surviving the extreme conditions associated with your homeland terrain. You get survival for free, hiding for free, tracking for free.
That is nice.
And you have animal lore for free. Wow.
Broken class. Please nerf.
Hmm. But your tribe is from the forest, so you'll have forest survival, forest hiding. Let's see, it was animal lore. Tracking. I don't think, let's see, survival. Although there are no fixed maxima for a barbarian's intelligence and charisma scores, the DM may also wish to simulate his cultural limitations by imposing a penalty from -2 to -6 determined by the DM to all intelligence and charisma checks made in the outworld. The barbarian uses his normal scores for checks in his homeland. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, phone call. Just a second, okay? All right, I'm back. Short phone call. Okay. For more detail about tracking modifiers and identification checks, consult a complete rangers. Okay, you do track like a ranger. That's good. That's really good. Rangers are really good at tracking. They don't get a penalty to tracking. Every other class does, except for barbarians, apparently. Animal lore. Describing the player's name for all species native to his homeland terrain. Okay, so forest only. You still there?
Yeah. Alright. I'm still kicking. Though sleepy as fuck because it's 2 a.m.
Yeah. Let's see what the check for hiding is. Intelligence, charisma limits. He knows the fundamental precautions necessary to survive in his homeland terrain. Find water shortly after dawn. Best. Okay. When dew collects under plant leaves, that 2 small fires are better than 1 large fire. Smaller fires are easier to control and are less likely to spread. A successful survival check enables him to find enough food to feed himself and one other character. By careful observation, he can interpret subtle changes in his environment to allow him to anticipate natural disasters. Oh. But yeah, the tribal people from where you're from, they're from the forest. So, and actually, so the party, to get where they're at, they had to go down through a dungeon. And your people, after the party cleared the dungeon out, your people started living there. Like your tribe. They were actually guarding the outside of it for the party. They were watching the party's horses and stuff like that. And so that's probably how you found out about the player character party. Okay, proficiencies. Page 67, compiled proficiencies, clarifications, and modifications. New proficiencies, 67. Oh, I suppose you could be a demi-barbarian. You didn't have to be human. You could have been, let's see, for a wizard slayer, you could have been a dwarf. The level limit is 15.
No, I prefer to be human.
Yeah. Damn, what happened to the proficiencies? Yeah, 67 is the beginning of chapter 4. What the hell?
I think we should wrap this up now.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna sleep real soon.
Yeah.
2 a.m.
Okay, we can pick it back up maybe sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
All right.
I will be able to be tomorrow, but probably at 7. Yeah, the same hour as the supposed time of. Yeah, because I'm going to be eating away somewhere else. Will you be at that hour?
7 o'clock your time?
EMT +1.
GMT +1, so I'm like GMT -8. I think. So 7, that should be 10 a.m. for me. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can meet you then.
Nice.
All right. So I'll talk to you then.
Yeah, see ya then.
Okay. Bye-bye. And for our viewers, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 500 followers. Woohoo! I just need like 9 more followers. I'm at 500. On the Twitch channel, that is. And then on YouTube. Oh man, I don't have very many followers on YouTube. Like less than 50, I think. So please follow me on YouTube as well. And I'll see you next time, which will be tomorrow. I'm going to help him finish Gravo, the Wizard Slayer Barbarian. And hope to see you then. If you like who we are and like what we do, Please explore links to Patreon and PayPal. Feel free to leave a one-time donation at PayPal, or for as little as $1 a month pledge at Patreon, you'll be given access to a monthly newsletter that has AD&D 2nd edition content for Roll20. I write a newsletter every month, about the same time every month, sometime between the 5th and the 9th of each month. And then there is access to a special channel on my Wizards of the West Coast Discord server where you can talk to me while I'm doing world building streams. So, you know, you can give me ideas about what to do and what direction to go and stuff like that if you want to for world building. And although I do have the next story arc pretty much nailed down, so it would have to be the story arc after that you could you know, inspire me with or whatever. And there are other echelons above $1 a month, and each echelon is cumulative. So the higher you go, the more content you have access to. And I think the highest echelon is like $40 a month or something like that. Maybe less. It's like maybe 30. And at that echelon, there's only one slot available. And you have access to so much stuff. I'll give you a sterilized copy of my entire campaign with no NPCs and no lore. I'll delete all the lore and all the NPCs. But you get all the monster sheets, all the DM macros and stuff, you know, random encounters, travel macros. I'll delete all the maps, of course, because I don't want, you know, to give access to my locations of things. But yeah, I'll sterilize the NPCs, the player characters, basically all the characters, and all the maps and all the lore. And you have access to everything else: spells, macros, all the DM shortcuts that I've made, all the monster sheets. I've spent hundreds of hours making monster sheets. It's crazy how many monsters I already have. And you have a copy of that. And if you want me to play in that campaign, I will, and I'll broadcast it on Twitch. And you'll obviously also be a co-GM of my campaign, and we'll be broadcasting that live on Twitch every Saturday. So, but that's the highest tier. And there are a few other things in there too that I missed, I'm sure. But yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.